Chapter 12. The Road in the Wilderness. The company of Lord Bohemond assembled at the massive city gates of Bastogne. 10 knights, clad in glistening armor, 5 eager squires, 20 weary soldiers, and 5 sharp-eyed archers formed an unruly column. The final member, their lord and commander, Bohemond, appeared in a spectacle of strength and confidence, mounted on a magnificent steed, his enormous mace swinging majestically at his side. As they rode, they ventured through the lush forests and rocky paths that wound towards the dukedom of Gisors. The occasional vagrant materialized from the shadows, eying the company with curiosity, perhaps discerning opportunities in their fine armor. The air thickened with anticipation, the journey leading them to the nexus of commerce and intrigue that was Gisors, where taverns buzzed with revelry, merchants hawked wares from distant lands, and whispers of spies intertwined with the clinking of mugs. Turning onto the cobblestone streets of Gisors, they found a kaleidoscope of traders and mercenaries, brass trinkets from Lustria, fragrant silks wafting from the east, and weapons of the finest quality forged by dwarven hands. Yet, as festive as the city appeared, an undercurrent of danger pulsed through its veins, shrouded in the secrets of its many inhabitants. Arriving at the castle of Hagen, heavy oaken doors creaked open, revealing a steward's tense expression. "My lord," he began, his tone grave, "Lord Isidore departed for the capital days prior. He intended to join you, but he got a letter from the king." Bohemond's brow darkened at this news, a flicker of disappointment crossing his features. "Reynold," he called, his voice commanding, "take 5 men and scout ahead for a place to camp for the night." The company continued onward, the sun dipping beneath the treetops and casting long shadows upon them. As twilight enveloped the landscape, Reynold discovered a clearing just north of the village of Sigogne, a safe space for their tents. The company settled in, the air warm with camaraderie. Yet, as night cloaked the world, an unsettling stillness fell, unnuded and oppressive. Bohemond wandered the camp with the young squire Melusine at his side, the crackle of the fire casting dancing shadows. Ruffier sat with his friends around the warmth of the flames. Melusine's wicked smile flashed across the firelight, gleaming in a way that made Ruffier uneasy. "Ruffier, you're in for a troubling night," Walter quipped, his voice low but filled with mischief. "I don't even want to imagine." Ruffier shivered, a tight knot forming in his gut. "Something feels off." Walter nodded, glancing at the trees as if they could offer assurance. "You feel it too?" "The wind?" Rainier interjected. "Listen closely. It's like voices, secrets, a tragedy lingering just beyond our reach." "Naive," Godoy scoffed. "Bandits wouldn't dare show their faces with knights about." Rassiquin leaned in with intensity. "Or worse, these woods might harbor not mere bandits but foul things. Not all shadows are friendly." As the hour turned late, the soldiers took their posts, tension vibrating in the air. Melusine glided past Ruffier, his voice taunting yet playful. "I hope you guard me well, Ruffier. If you sleep, it won't be your rank that suffers." "I would guard you with my life, sir," Ruffier replied, though he felt a tremor, a churning unease regarding Melusine's essence. Hours drained away, time steadily plodding through the heavy silence. Ruffier's instincts heightened, prickling under duress. Shadows toyed with his mind. He could almost feel the weight of unseen eyes upon him, silently judging his vigilance. As dawn broke, a distant cry split the cool morning air, echoing through the mist-laden forest. "Come quick, someone is dead." The camp was abruptly stirred into chaos. Reynold, the company's captain, hurried toward the source of the commotion, dread knotting in his gut. Outside the knight's tent lay their guard, lifeless, with a gaping wound where his throat had once been. Blood pooled around him, a dark scarlet oasis coloring the earthy brown ground. Yet, it was the sight within the tent that turned Reynold's stomach. Lord Therion, the valiant knight they had hailed just the night prior, was splayed across the dirt floor, his body a grotesque canvas of agony. Cuts crisscrossed his flesh as though someone had taken delight in torturing him. But it was the dark sigil traced across his back, unmistakable and horrifying, the mark of Slanesh, that sent waves of horror rippling through the gathering soldiers. Reynauld turned to Rassiquin, the company's healer and steadfast ally. "Examine the body," he ordered, his voice shaking, "and search for clues." The scent that lingered around Therion was repugnant, like decaying vegetation mixed with something more sinister. Rassiquin hunkered down, his brow furrowing as he inhaled deeply. "These cuts," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, "they were made with poison. There's a thick, brown residue in the wounds." As the news spread, tension hung thick in the air like a gathering storm. Exhausted soldiers, their faces pale with shock and fear, exchanged worried glances. Whispers of doom echoed among them. How could anyone infiltrate their camp unnoticed? Bohemond barked orders to shake them from their stupor. "We must stick together. We will reach the capital," he shouted, but even his bravado seemed like weak light against the encroaching dark. As they resumed their march, the path ahead grew treacherous. Trees had been axed down, barricading their progress, and unseen traps lay hidden, each step threatened by the lurking specter of danger. Soldiers succumbed to the poison-infused barbs hidden within the foliage, their cries merging with the eerie, predatory laughter echoing from the shadows surrounding them. When dusk settled, painting the sky in shades of bruised lavender and indigo, they chose to camp, the weight of their fear pressing heavily upon them. That night, it was the haunting melody of an unknown instrument that struck the air, a siren's call promising madness. "Close your ears," someone shouted, but it was too late. One by one, their resistance crumbled, and the company fell into a deep, unyielding slumber. Except for Ruffier. He managed to cover his ears on time. After some time he decided to take his hands off his ears. Silence. Ruffier remained alert, clutching his sword in one hand while his shield rested at his side. As shadows danced around him, 5 hooded figures emerged from the depths of the darkened woods, dressed as if cloaked in night itself. "Look here, fellows, we got a live one," one of the assassins called out, an unsettling grin twisting his lips. Another replied impatiently, "Just make it quick. I still want to have some fun." Panic surged within Ruffier, but it was accompanied by a resolute determination. Escape was not an option. He had to fight. Drawing his sword and raising his shield, time slowed. The first assassin rushed forward, knife glinting in the dim light. Ruffier was ready. He shield bashed the oncoming assassin, sending the figure sprawling. In one fluid motion, he brought down his sword, severing the assassin's head with a clean strike. The man crumpled lifelessly, the sharp thud echoing in the silent camp. Another assassin followed. He landed a quick cut on Ruffier's cheek, pain blooming like a flower. But with a swift thrust, Ruffier retaliated, his weapon finding its mark, driving his blade through another assassin's gut. The remaining 3 surrounded Ruffier. They converged upon him, their speed a deadly dance, piercing his flesh again and again. Ruffier's breath grew shallow. He could not falter now. "Stay calm," he reminded himself, recalling the words of Bardon. "One wrong step, and it will lead you to ruin." Ruffier focused, allowing the panic to wash away. He listened, focusing only on the subtle noises, the rustling of leaves, the shifting of feet, the whir of blades slicing through the air. He was on the verge of collapse, yet within the flames of his desperation kindled a flicker of hope. As the assassins lunged for him, he started to block and parry, instinct driving him to respond. In a moment of clarity, he struck out and severed an assassin's arm, sending the knife clattering to the ground. In another single motion his shield broke, shattering like glass as he cut another assassin leg. They were relentless, and Ruffier was but a man clad in flesh, bleeding from everywhere. As the last assassin approached, smirking with glee, Ruffier was on his knees. He surrendered to visions of his past, the faces of his family, the brothers lost in the battle against the beastmen, and the echoes of the people he swore to protect. A surge of determination ignited within him. With everything he had left, Ruffier lunged, meeting the assassin's advance with a relentless assault. As the cold steel pierced the flesh of the last assassin, he asked, "What are you?" before collapsing to the ground. Rufia felt the weight of the world ease from his shoulders. He was breathless and bloodied, but he had prevailed. Rufia crawled to the trunk of a nearby tree, his body heavy with wounds and fatigue. Surrounded by the bodies of his dead enemies, his consciousness started to slip away as dawn approached, light filtering through the treetops, promising a new day.